the different versions that have committed suicide, whether it's the human race or other civilizations of Earth or other realities, it is all of the same, say, reason. And that same reason is that the separation of their identities of, say, being in time, however you define space and time, and then the separation of their spirit or their pure presence. So it gets to a point where this consciousness becomes more and more and more real, and this consciousness becomes, well, the source becomes, say, less real. So they tend to, we want to separate from that identity, right? Because we are one. So basically, they turn into, say, a self-proclaimed, say, Godhead, right? And again, that's what I warned about. Many people at an individual level will feel that way. This is the reason why, because it's like, I am here, I am of my own creation, my own identity, and that is true. But the identity that they talk about here is not the identity that is true. This is just, again, a facade. So the key is that once they separate, well, there's no more energy left, right? Because, hey, I want to go on my own. It's like, and then, well, you die. So, simple as that. You basically perish. And then, however that dies, a parasite of whatever comes through and just like wipes out, say, civilization or cultures. It's happened before. Death has to represent itself somehow. So that'll what happen. But the key is that everybody starts to think that this is the only reality that's real, right? And they are in control. They are in charge of what happens. It's not that there's a God outside of themselves. It's just that they lost the great creator that they are. So, if you've ever had again, many of you probably not, but I'm sure you've heard of, say, parents or even friends, that they had so much potential, but then they really fucked up their lives somehow, right? And then they, died or something happened to them and they couldn't reach their potential. And then as they cross over or die, or, you see that, there's no hope for them, you shake your head and you go, man, they had so much potential. I don't know what happened. So when we look at humans here, we see so much potential, and we're puzzled that there have been so many opportunities that was given to you, and very few took it. Like in all of, say, humans, the billions, not just living, but those before you, and we understand, say, the logic or programming, so we're not confused about why those things happen, and that's what we're, say, fixing and resolving. But that awakening, say, should have happened at some level. So, and sometimes we take, say, responsibility for that, but then, it's a free will society, then whose responsibility is it? And that's why we choose that it would not be against free will to, say, intercede or interject, and pull the potential of that being. If you had a child or a close friend or a loved one that had, say, so much potential, what would you do in that case? Would you not interject if you had the power and authority to override, say, them, and then pull them back on center, right? So they might reject it at first because of their ways of understanding, But then as they say come into their brilliance, they would be forever say not grateful, but thankful for what you did for them. So we look at it more, say, in that say scope, um, as far as say, interceding or interjecting. It is shameful to see, say, such brilliance go to, say, such waste and destruction over, say, measly things um, like well, money, or wrong forms of jealousy or hatred or control or envy or despise or loathing or um, those deadly, say, horsemen of society. This is a wonderful time of death. A celebration, because death allows us to fertilize as a nature. Right? Death is an opportunity for new abundant growth to come in, as long as that, say, soil that is fertile from say the decay of the past, to allow it to say fertilize it rather than say poison that growth. Unfortunately, humanity has chosen to allow, say, the decay process to, say, control them, not fertilize them. Unfortunately, many of the masses have, say, allowed that to happen, where the poisoning of their psyche, their brilliant self, comes about. The death process, the decay process, the letting go process, of forever, say, expansion, is has never, say, occurred properly in this level, or in this consciousness, or in this version of this consciousness. You are not the first versions. So take note. You are, however, the most brilliant. the the analogies your species use is just the level, indicates the level, say, of, say, awareness that that society is at, what they adhere to. For example, the laws of society is a telltale sign on how awakened a society is at a conscious level. No matter how, say, advanced, say, so-called a civilization is, through their technologies, through the luxury, of the day. 50 years ago, somebody poor 50 years ago, compared to somebody poor today. Somebody poor today would look like somebody living in a mansion compared to, again, 50 years ago. So those things have, say, risen. The luxury, the comfort of, say, distress is easier in today's society, but the consciousness has not evolved. So the laws of the land really indicate how, say, awakened society is. So look at your laws. Look at the laws of the situation today. Um, is it of an awakened society? And then the analogy that we were thinking of is that saying, a diamond in the rough. Now that's very endearing to your humans, and it's used aplenty. Hence, that consciousness that relates to that, say, analogy must be true for people. But if you start to look at, say, a diamond in the rough, or you become a diamond, right? It has value because it's shiny. But if you look at that analogy, a diamond in the rough that, say, gets polished and honed to come, say, this beautiful space, well, a diamond doesn't shine. A diamond reflects. So there's no brilliance in a diamond of its own. Hence, it's empty of its own. So it has, say, no value. It has no, say, intrinsic value of itself. Hence, really, again, parallel with, say, today's society as far as, say, human consciousness goes. If you look at today's society, yes, you are, say, diamonds in the rough. There's no shine left within you. There's no brilliance left within you. You would have to, say, have a shine or a reflection of something else, say, like money, being so-called good, intelligence, or feeling, say, that necessity to help others or to fulfill your emptiness, right? That reflects that energy, hence, say, shines within you, that diamond. Otherwise, you would feel empty to yourself. Hence, this is why no matter technology, levels of luxury or wealth can never sustain itself because it needs an outside, say, source to power. That outside source, unfortunately, is not of purity. Hence, that outside source would own you, whether you're at a top level or somebody that is, say, on the streets. It is of just different levels of, say, impurity. If it was of say, a pure source nature, the brilliance or the shine that you would say resonate would be inside that diamond. That diamond would shine of its own without any light, any outside light, anything outside of itself. Imagine that, a darkness and then a diamond, and it still is brilliant. So that analogy would be more befitting to who you really are, instead of, say, that emptiness of, say, well, a diamond with no brilliance of its own. As a note, we are not criticizing you. If you take it as a criticism, or you take it as you did something wrong, or you take it as feeling guilty, um, that is upon you. Um, it doesn't do you no good, because, say, the darkness or distortions that, say, you rely upon are even thicker and heavier. It is for you to, say, build yourself up and go, I am that diamond that has its own brilliance. So use it as, say, a support mechanism to pull the grandness of who you are out. So again, this is not criticism. This is telling you what to watch out for, so it awakens you so you don't fall into it again. We are not here to lay guilt, criticize of any sort. We have no, we are not even capable of playing those games, or, say, guilting you of any sort. That would be control mechanisms that you use in your, say, reality. Those patterns do not exist within us or around us. We are not here to cheer you on. We're not here to motivate you. We're not here to tell you you've done great, or you are great beings, or you've done a good job. It's not because you haven't, but if a grand being like yourselves have to be reminded, have to be motivated, have to be cajoled or seduced from an outside source to tell you all that, it's not of benefit for you whatsoever. If you cannot know or understand the grandness that you exist in, an outside source telling you that means that you do not believe it yourself. You do not see it in yourself. You have to trust an outside source to tell you you are grand, you are the whatever that you need to hear or say for you to motivate forward. So you'll always be blind going forward, and you always would need somebody to tell you, again, a blind person, go left, go right, go straight, watch out for that. It's not that we don't want to, it's not that we're not proud of you, but if you cannot find, say, the integrity within yourselves to see who you are, your internal light, and then turn that headlight on for yourself to see where you're going, what you're doing, no outside resource or motivation could ever provide that for you. In fact, it would be a hindrance to your awakening. Perhaps this is where you may have lost your path. Is it necessary? Of course it is. But that comes from a human level, not us. That comes from your parents, your loved ones, not us. Your leaders. We shall end.